My guest on the program is Mr. Olayemi Shonubi, the president of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors. He gives us his take on this proposed bill, Nigeria's housing deficit, the country's mortgage system, and the concept of mass housing. Please watch this. Mr. Shonubi, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Talk to us a bit about this bill. The Senate is trying to propose this bill where rent collection in the nation's capital will be regulated. Talk to us a bit about that and how you feel about this particular proposal.
Well, for me, I think the proposal might not be a too welcome one, and I'll tell you the reason. There is nowhere in the world where we control a commercial transaction between two private individuals. In the first instance, when we talk about economics 101, where we talk of law of demand and supply, if the supply side is available to meet the demand, there will be no need. I'll give you a typical example. Before the advent of COVID, you had office spaces that were in high demand in Victoria Island. But when most of the corporate organizations decided that their staff will work from home, not only in Lagos anyway, all over the world, most of the developed parts of the world, and organizations asked their workers to work from home, demand for office accommodation decreased. Similarly, rent has also reduced. So invariably what I'm saying is that the bill probably was not necessary, because if the supply side was there, if we have the houses, there would be no need for any landlord to ask for 2 years or 1 year rent in advance, because the house will just be there. I'm sure everybody wants to have money rather than have an empty house just there, unless the purpose is for something else. But if for economic reasons that you want to earn income from, you rather want to put somebody there who immediately comes in, pays, and you're hoping that maybe in another 3 months or 1 year, he pays another rent. And maybe in another 5 years, the value will increase and then you ask for more money. So invariably, the fact that the landlords are asking for 1 year rent has to do with the fact that there are not enough houses for people. And that's why people are going to as far as Suleja, Karu, on the outskirts, to seek accommodation for people working in the central business area of Abuja.
Well, you pointed the fact out that there isn't enough housing, which is the reason why landlords are doing what they're doing right now. So since that is our situation, doesn't this bill make sense?
Well, like I said, you see, what you're only going to create will be what I always call the black market. Look at what is happening in our foreign exchange market. There is the official rate, which is 413 or 420. But tell me anybody, even in private businesses, who had gotten dollar at the official rate of 413. If you don't have a markup from your bank, then you go to the bureau de change where you get it about 560. And if you look at the gap, it's also because the dollar is not there. I still talk about economics 101, law of demand and supply. You will realize that each time government tries to meet the demand of the manufacturers and all others who seek dollars in the market, the the naira value improves. But anytime government is hamstrung by virtue of the fact that we are not earning enough income dollar-wise, then the value of naira drops. So much more that it has gone up from 400 and something that was a couple of years ago to 520, 560. They are not even sure whether it won't end by 600 and something by the end of the year. So that's why I said what I said, because we need to be, there is the ideal, and then there's the reality.
So let's talk about the ideal and the reality. The truth is, we don't have the ideal right now. The reality on ground is that there isn't enough housing. And that's why we have a lot of people going to, like you said, the outskirts of town looking for a place to stay. And that's why we have so many monster landlords in the nation's capital. So this bill, what is so wrong with it if it's having to deal with the reality on ground?
Now, what I would in saying about talking about reality, I will also tell you of a practical experience that happened in Lagos. And if I remember correctly, I think it was when the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing was the governor of Lagos State. I think either himself or his successor. They tried to enforce this law because in Lagos, this whole thing started from Lagos. Initially, I think there was a time people were even asking for 3 years rent in advance. And then later it came to 2 years. And then the governor of Lagos at one point said, look, let's have an edit that will force people to pay for only 1 year. Initially, it didn't succeed because when you need a house, you go to the landlord, the man tells you, hey, well, if you want 1 year, then go and meet the governor to give you a house. But if you're talking about my house, this is what you do. This belongs to me. The government did not build the house for me. That is the reality I'm talking about. But you see, the ideal would have been that if government had been issued, and I think they tried that when they were building Abuja, had invested in social housing. They have blocks of accommodation housing. Because if you ask me, the bulk of people working in Abuja are civil servants. You have very few corporate organizations in Abuja. So if government had provided accommodation for workers to rent, and that's why I started talking about social housing. If you go to the UK, for instance, you used to have those council flats. The council flats were provided by government. It wasn't by individual. Government is trying now through the family home funds to get people to come and invest in residential accommodation. But the honest truth is that because it's social housing and the return is small, because that's the only way it can work. If you talk about affordable housing, the return on investment is very low. Could be as low, could be as much as 5% or even lower. So anybody else, you look at an average Nigerian who's looking at investing his money in a finance house and get 10% at the end of the month. You want him to come and invest money for about 18 months and get 5%. It's not going to work. So we have a lot of structural problems within the fiscal policies of the government, fiscal and monetary policies of the government, that's made it almost practically impossible to have private investors invest in social activities. It's only government that can. But then, government too is hamstrung. There are so many infrastructural facilities that are calling for attention. We are talking about education, we are talking about health, we are talking about roads, and most importantly, power, which is calling for the government attention. So where would be the money come to put more? Yes, government is trying, but it's just like a little drop of water in the ocean.
Unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to wrap it up today on the program. But thank you very much for being with us today on Dateline Abuja, and good luck with the work that you do.
Thank you very much, Kayla. It's been a worthwhile afternoon for me, and I hope we can get to talk more about how we can improve what government can do for the housing sector in Nigeria. Thank you for having me.